Whether you're looking for a convenient refresher course, or a way to earn your pragmatic certification at your own speed, or the chance to take a pragmatic course from your specific corner of the world, then Foundations on Demand is the solution you need. Get the same great content, tools, and templates our Foundations course is famous for in a flexible and easy-to-use online learning platform. Learn the skills you need to build and market products people want to buy. And earn your Pragmatic Institute certification anywhere, anytime. No more travel worries, no more time zone issues, just truly great training. Experience the new way of training with Foundations on Demand from Pragmatic Institute. Visit pragmaticinstitute.com/foundations to learn more.
Let's move right into our discussion because I'm so excited for you to meet Arnaud. We are going to be talking today about how you can motivate your market to buy a newly launched product or service without totally breaking the bank or depleting all of your resources that you need for growth. So this conversation is about how to approach go-to-market in a way that is going to really align objectives across your organization, reduce risk, and just create a big success for you. So Arnaud has a really successful framework that he's going to share, as well as a detailed case study of how he applied it. So Arnaud Berube, he's a seasoned product marketer with tons of experience in all sorts of different facets of the product marketing world. He's worked with companies like Sling, most recently Zillow, and his secret sauce is really focused on data-driven marketing and creative solutions that are fresh and forward-thinking and elegant all at the same time. So I cannot wait for you to learn from him. Arnaud, welcome. Thank you for joining us, and I hand the reins over to you.
Thank you so much, Georgina. Thanks for the intro, and thanks Pragmatic Institute for hosting. I'm excited to share. Let's progress through here. As she mentioned, my name is Arnaud Berube, Senior Product Marketing Manager at Zillow currently. And a little bit about me before we get into the talk. So my name is spelled, it's a French name, so it's spelled a little funny, but it's pronounced Arnaud. This map here is kind of my journey. Was born in Quebec, so that's where the French name comes from. I grew up in the Los Angeles area through undergrad, and then right out of undergrad, I moved to Chicago, and I was there for just about a decade. Got my MBA at the tail end of that, and then moved to Colorado, and I've been in Denver the last 5 years. My family, so bottom left is a picture of myself with my parents and my siblings. And then bottom middle is my partner and our 2 children and our puppy Leaf. That's us on a hike here in Colorado. And then my hobbies. So top right, I love construction, kind of renovations. And this was our house that we renovated kind of through the whole pandemic, basically, and just finished about 6 months ago. So that was exciting. And then avid skier. So this is a picture of myself and my son skiing here in Colorado. And then when I moved to Chicago, I fell in love with just delicious beer. So these are 2 beers that are my favorites from Chicago. So that's me, Arnaud. Good to meet you all. In this conversation, so what you all signed up for, we're going to talk through four things. 1, a framework for connecting business objectives to all the way down to marketing executions. 2, how to use research to size, position, name your products or features. 3, a 4-phased go-to-market approach to prove marketing value, reduce risk. So that's kind of the meat, what I'm really hoping to spend a good amount of time on. And then bonus, applying the same methodology to create a product marketing function at your organization. So excited to take you through these 4 things. And we're going to use, as Georgina mentioned, we're going to have more of a case study to kind of walk us through those 4 points. This is an unbranded case study, and it's Watch Party. So when I launched, when I was the product marketing manager launching a huge new initiative called Watch Party. And again, this will be the meat of it will be in that phased go-to-market approach. And yes, I think it's just a good case study. I know I'm currently a product marketer at Zillow, but this felt like the right case study to kind of take us through these 4 questions. Okay, so before getting into it, just some context and why Watch Party was prioritized, why we felt it was important at the business from a business standpoint. This is 2020. We all know 2020 as the year of COVID, the year of stay at home, and here in Denver, like the city was just completely quiet. It was very strange. And then, Watch Party obviously allowed people to interact in a way where when they're stuck at home, they're still able to have experiences with other people. So this is a quick snapshot of a timeline. June 2020, just basically 3 months after big lockdowns for COVID, Watch Party at a business level was prioritized. And I took on Watch Party. Importantly, just for the org structure, there was no product marketing function at the business I was working at. So I was on the brand team and I took it on as a large campaign. But as you'll see kind of in that, as I move down and as we're going to go through the 4 points, there was a product marketing function formalized at the end of this with 2 headcount approved, and we'll kind of get into that a little bit more. But so June 2020 prioritized. By September 2020, we had launched our phase 1 and phase 2. And then by December 2020, we did our really big, broad phase 4 TV spot. So we'll get into those phases a little bit more. But it's, the go-to-market that we're going to go over kind of covers six months of timeline. Okay, so with that context in mind, number 1 of the 4 things that you signed up for, a framework for connecting business objectives to marketing executions. This is big picture approach, or sometimes called the big picture framework. You can Google this and you'll see something similar to this. This is my little bit of a twist on the big picture framework. But basically it's a way to first, you start on the way left and you start with a business objective, and then you could get marketing objective kind of tied together. And then you can progress into your strategy, your STP, segment target position. So that's your marketing strategy, getting into who this audience is, what the product really is valued to them. And then you get all into your executions, your 4 Ps. Notice, 4 Ps, these aren't the traditional 4 Ps. They're kind of tailored to a tech company: pricing and offers, user journeys, promotion and comms, and website. That's just my own flavor on the 4 Ps as I'm going to market in a tech-driven organization. So this is just a big picture I like to keep in my brain as I'm moving through a go-to-market. The messy reality, I like to just have this quick slide. It's never linear like this. It seems like, hey, you do these objectives, you do your strategy, you go to execute. It's never like that. When you're thinking about objectives, you're already jumping to execution and thinking like, how much is this thing going to cost? Is it going to actually be worth it? You're doing your marketing objectives, but you're already segmenting and targeting. So all this stuff kind of intertwines, but I think keeping this framework in your head allows you, as these things are swirling, especially early on in a go-to-market, you can slot them into the right places and keep your brain organized a little bit. So this is, again, connecting business objective all the way down to execution. And just as an example, as we're talking through Watch Party, the business objectives, there are 3, and business objectives are always super simple and kind of ladder up to top line business initiatives. So we wanted to create a differentiating feature. Thought this would drive retention and potentially new activations. Marketing objectives: drive awareness among existing users, upsell guests to sign up, drive incremental signups. So those are tied pretty closely together, but marketing is really like, what are the objectives that we will actually be able to drive in the marketing function? Okay, so that was number 1 that we're going through today. Number 2, how to use research to size, position, and name your products or features. Okay, so this is the summary, kind of a summary I like to create after. So super important to get really close with your consumer insights team, especially at the start of a new initiative. And I always like to try and pull, you might get a report coming back from your consumer insights team. How do you visualize it? So I like to have a slide that pulls key information into some visualization that helps digest that consumer insights research. But we got a few things right off the bat from this research. So the top 2 charts really showed us that there was going to be interest in this co-viewing experience and that people would be doing it frequently. So basically those 2 charts are like, yes, we should prioritize Watch Party. Then we got into, okay, we were a live TV brand. What types of content would people be interested in watching? And then, what's the actual experience? How many people would need to be in a watch party? So how big should we make this thing? And is it going to be audio only, text, video chat? Video chat really won out. And then the last piece here was this idea of a relationship. So co-viewing, there's two people involved. What's the relationship of the two people? And so these top two boxes, it was really the co-viewer would be either friend to friend or parent to child. And you'll see those start to come to life when we get into creative a little bit later. But all these consumer insights allowed us to prioritize watch party, and then to start thinking about the personas, and to start thinking about how we're actually going to go to market for this thing and position it. And then I just wanted to throw a quick slide here. You can actually take that and create some personas. And these were just very simple, very rudimentary, like 4 quick hits. What are these, host, the host to friend, the host to child relationship? And then what are the goals for those personas? And then lastly, from your consumer insights research, there's a lot to grab from consumer insights. You should really spend a lot of time with it. But in terms of just this talk, trying to get verbatims and actually get into what do we hear from our customers? What are they talking about when they think about watch party? And so, we grabbed things like nice to watch together when we don't live close to each other, to enjoy a shared experience, watching the same video and talking about it, connecting with family, to appreciate watching TV together, even though we weren't able to be physically together. So that last, that one in the middle there, I felt really, that was COVID. That was our stay-at-home order. And so you can take those verbatims, those insights, and create positioning. And the primary insights we were really focused on for our positioning was from those verbatims. Like, we needed to nail connection, we needed to nail that shared experience, closing distances. So from that, we created our top reasons to believe, RTBs, sometimes CVPs, depending how you talk about it in the org. But what are the top things about watch party that you're solving for the customer? So we were the only brand that let you stay connected with live TV. Everyone was welcome. So that was a concern with our consumer insights, is that people would have to pay, but everyone was welcome to join. Starting is easy. So that was also a concern, as this just seemed complicated. So we tried to kind of hit that right away. And then for longer form content, we got into video chatting. And again, that was from the consumer insights research, that video chat was an important feature. So with those, we went and did our naming and tagline research, which I don't have time to get into today, but there's good frameworks that consumer insights teams can use to, we threw like 30 names and 30 taglines at them, and they helped us sort through which actually would land best with our customers. And it was kind of funny, the code name internally, it was called Watch Party, and that's the name that ended up sticking. But the tagline was definitely not what we thought it was going to be. But, we landed on something really good, TV together from anywhere. I love that. And so, again, taking all of the consumer insights and the verbatims, and then turning it into your positioning, your name, your tagline, what this feature is going to be all about. Take a beat. It's important. This was a few years back, but I've recently read Obviously Awesome. If you haven't read that before, it gives a great framework to do exactly this, but you get a messaging framework that's a little bit crisper and show, connects insights to RTBs a little bit better. So just a small plug for a different book if you're interested in this particular bit of the go-to-market. Okay, so that gets us through 1, that framework, 2, consumer insights, 3, let's get into what is this 4-phased go-to-market approach for proving marketing value and reducing risk. All right, so we're going to do a few slides to this, but this is the meat of it. There's a lot going on here, so let me kind of walk you through it. If you jump over to the left side of the slide, you see this idea of a marketing beta versus a marketing full release. Marketing beta, the way we defined it, and I still like this definition, is it's going to be kind of your internal customers. So phase 1 and phase 2 are all about existing customers. How do we market to these folks? How do we prove that this is actually a product or feature that people want and need? And then there's the idea of the marketing full release, phase 3 and phase 4, where we can start getting into promoting or advertising in a paid fashion to prospect audiences. And it's just progressively getting bigger, targeted prospects, it's going to be a smaller budget. It's going to be focused probably in digital media. And then as you go to broad prospects, you start talking to your audiences not in a much less targeted way. One-to-many marketing channels. So then these columns, the relationship, targeted versus broad, rollout date, they just kind of define those phases a little bit more. Rollout date, I think, is important to keep in mind. It's something that helps drive, ties together PMM and PM very closely. It's obviously the key moment where everything comes together and comms roll out. And so you can see phase 1 and 2, we had dates. We didn't know if this was going to be successful. So phase 3 and phase 4, it was undecided whether we'd go ahead and launch this to prospects. And that's kind of the point of the phase marketing approach. Just to give a quick sense on how these 4 phases roll out across channels, it's important, I think, to dissect these phases and show, yes, we're actually going to be doing more and more and more building as we go. And so the soft launch, we did do PR soft launch. Sometimes there's a question, with the initial launch, do you do PR or not? We knew that industry insiders would hear about this, so we wanted to grab the moment before it got kind of spread widely. So we did do PR with phase 1. We did email. This is an internal, a video launch to our existing customers. And then we had a landing page to be able to direct existing customers. And then as you progress, right, you go, maybe there's some digital remarketing that you do with your phase 2 launch, but you're kind of improving on those initial launch channels. And then phase 3, you're getting into how do we actually do, engage some of our brand channels, so own channels, and then how do we maybe engage some paid social or paid search, and then broadly, what's your one-to-many marketing channels? So getting into TV, out of home, radio, kind of those more broad communication channels. And then I think just another key piece, this is always important to have a calendar that this is really focused on the marketing side. What are your campaigns? What are the ways that you're gonna be talking to your customers already? And are there ways to kind of grab onto those for your go-to-market? And so, I've separated it into brand campaigns. These are content campaigns, and then cultural moments, things like Halloween, holidays, maybe there's movie times, or we had election season happening at the time. And so this campaign just helps keep everything on track and force functions a little bit your go-to-market. Okay, so with that, we're still in this number 3, which is the phased marketing approach. I just wanted to go kind of blast through some creative and results and show you how we moved from phase 1 to phase 2 to phase 3. So these again are all the marketing channels. We kind of just went through that a couple slides ago, but this is how we progress through. Phase 1 and phase 2 I lumped together as we're looking at results. So we had a pretty basic landing page, but just something to you want to introduce what the feature, you want to talk about why it's important, what are your RTBs, again, from your positioning, and then depending, you probably have a how-to. This is just a how-to section kind of on the tail end here. So as a landing page, we had a lifecycle email that went out. This was really, you could see it was really focused on watch party. And again, we kind of got into RTBs and then how-to. So similar formula to the landing page. We had links to the landing page from here. And then we had these videos, these launch videos that were just for internal customers, just trying to highlight that you can be together and talked through like the emotions that you can experience together. So you see a screenshot of like this laugh together. And we had a Spanish language, we had a big Spanish speaking audience. So kind of did both those things. Okay, looking at results. I like to use the stop, start, continue framework. Phase 1 and 2 results were a bit mixed. We had a huge PR event, second largest PR event we'd ever had. We reached the SEO spot in 3 days for our landing page. And then the internal ad was actually driving incremental survival, incremental roll to pay, high ROMI. So this is just emphasizing that it's important to have measurement as you're going to market. It's important to be able to have visibility into how you're performing. Stop. So that was continue doing, stop doing watch party standalone emails. That email I showed actually performed below benchmark. So we had to figure out how we were going to iterate on that email and try something different. And then start, we wanted to go ahead. This was clear signals that we should go ahead and move into phase 3 of the 4-phase approach. So phase 3, we get into targeted prospects, paid social ads. We again, kind of going back to that campaign calendar, we did some tie-ins to some cultural moments like Halloween or Host for the Holidays down here. And then we also did just big content moments, Big Ten and Pac-12. Those are, sports focused campaigns. We had an Evergreen watch party campaign as well. And then we got, we iterated on the email. So you can see here, watch party is no longer the hero up here, but a supporting benefit for this email. And so the hero is all about Thanksgiving. And then we get into your content that you can watch. And then it's like, oh, by the way, watch party is something that we have. So it's a key supporting benefit of the brand rather than kind of the focus, which I think was a good progression. We did the same for, the ball drop and the New Year's. And then we also did some, we had a influencer for sports that we had him talk about watch party a bit. And then we did this fun kind of Halloween brand social post with our brand channel where it was, forget 2020, host an 80s Halloween party, which was fun. And then we had these little games that people could print out. So really leaning in. Again, so phase 3 results. And by the way, I'm only highlighting like a few key pieces of creative, but I think it paints the picture for you all. As we're at, phase 3, we did find good success. And there was some, stop, start, continue again. There was one piece, so tentpole paid advertising. We actually found 30% higher subscriber acquisition costs. We only spent $20,000 there, so that we just turned off. But the continue piece, we found some other ways to have paid campaigns. This idea of host for the holidays that we really leaned into, that had 34% lower subscriber acquisition costs than our Evergreen campaigns. And we were able to scale that all the way up to 200,000 spend. So, we were able to find success here. Evergreen campaign looked promising. Emails, that iteration that we made, we were actually able to start finding success with incremental activations with those. And then all of that really gave us the steam to go ahead and move forward to phase 4, which was broad awareness. And for us, that was going to be a TV campaign for broad awareness. Before we did that, we were tracking experience, so product experience metrics. So again, product marketing got to be tied at the hip with product as you're chugging along this, and seeing a lot of positive signals in terms of the experience and likelihood to watch again. So that again gave us all the right inputs to say, yeah, let's go ahead and launch a TV campaign. TV is super, you just start getting into way bigger dollars. So I think that's kind of the big benefit of this phase marketing approach, is you start to see if you have success before you go and produce a big TV spot. TV was new to me, so I just wanted to flash for those who have not done a TV campaign. It's a beast and it's different from other types of marketing. This is the Gantt chart I created just to show from the time of briefing agencies, all of the different, approvals and kind of concepts, approvals, getting through to budgets. And it was 18 weeks from the time of briefing all the way to the time that we were flighting the ad. And from the previous campaigns we did, that's like a pretty fast pace. Usually you have a bit more time. And just to get you a sense of budget, it's gonna be about $1 million probably if you're going to produce a TV ad that you want to run on national television. You're gonna want to brief an agency and kind of go all in. And that gave us 2 spots that had a lot of different iterations in them. So really it was something like 6 spots, but 2 kind of core creative concepts. I did have these here. I kind of debated back and forth whether I should try and show them in the talk, but I'll leave it for if you're interested after. You can find these, hit me up or hit Georgina up. But it was super fun. I loved how the creative kind of landed. And then again, for those who have not done TV advertising, I just want to show the goals of TV advertising are going to be very different from your social campaigns, your paid, your digital campaigns. So we had 4 goals. One, this Ameritest is a company that will look qualitatively at your ads before you put them in market. And you're looking at these ideas, these kind of branding ideas of attention, branding, motivation, likelihood to consider the brand after seeing the ad. And this is just a gut check before you go and spend lots and lots of money on national TV ads. And then in-market goals, again, these were qualitative. So we want to do some brand linkage among those who recall the ad, percent who tie it back to the ad, interest, and then consider subscribing. So these all give you before, it can take a while for TV results to actually come in. And these give you a sense of, is this going to be a success or not? And then our third goal was iSpot. So that was our way. iSpot's a company that can help measure from people who are exposed to the ad, how many actually go and sign up. And you could get a more direct link there. And so site visit rate, sign up response rate, ad interruption rate. That was our way of measuring the true success after this had been running for a while. And then you could do some behavioral metrics. So search and site traffic. These are things you could measure pretty quickly to see how your ads are doing. Results. It was a massive success. So with phase 4, there was no stop start. We're kind of at the end of doing new things with the 4 phases, but continue. We ended up the total of around $9 million in media spend when I left. And it was performing 25% better subscriber acquisition costs than the previous campaign. And then we continued, kind of all the successful initiative, all the successful tactics that we were doing from phases 1, 2, and 3. And then continuing to integrate Watch Party into campaigns became one of our key reasons to believe for the brand. Okay, so that kind of took us through the meat of the presentation. The last piece, we got through 1, 2, 3. Now number 4, creating a product marketing function at your organization, kind of using a similar approach. So when I went, after Watch Party launched, and then I was working with my leadership on how we actually go and support product in a more robust way, kind of more consistently. This, I created a long deck, but this was like the key slide. So we looked, I kind of got tied at the hip with product, and I laid out what are all of the key initiatives that are coming down the pipe for the next year, and just created this calendar view. So we had 11 key initiatives. What are the launches that we'll see associated with those, and where throughout the year? And then if you look all the way on the left of this chart, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, those give you a sense of, using the 4 phases that I went through before, which product launches are gonna likely get all the way down to phase 4 and have a TV component, which product launches will just get to phase 3, which ones will just be small, phase 1 and phase 2. So tier 1 were those big, likely to have a TV element. Tier 2 would be just maybe getting into some paid marketing, but not as big. And then tier 3 would just be those kind of internal channels. And that's it. That's a wrap. So, I should say, so using this framework, I was able to get my leadership to agree to, we needed 2 headcount to basically drive all these different campaigns that would launch for these product launches coming down, and work closely with product to make these launches happen. Okay, so four topics we covered: a framework for connecting business objectives to marketing executions. That's that big picture framework. How to use research to size, position, name your product's features. The 4-phase go-to-market approach to prove marketing value, reduce risk, and then applying those to create a product marketing function. And with that, I think I'm going to pass back to Georgina.
That was awesome. I loved that. I loved all the kind of creative examples too. I feel like it really grounds the strategies and approaches that you used. So thank you for so much generosity in sharing those. Folks, we are going to transition to asking and answering some questions here. So a number of you have already put questions in the QA box, but now is the time to put one there if you have one in mind. While you all are typing out some questions for Arnaud, I will tell you briefly about our next product chat conversation and topic. We'll be meeting on October 20th at 1 p.m. Eastern, as always. We're going to talk to Christopher Whittam, who is the product leader at Meta, formerly Facebook, for a conversation all about measurement. And so that's either daunting or delicious, depending on how your brain works, but absolutely essential no matter what project you're doing. So we're going to talk to him about about how you can really remain consistent and on track all through your product life cycle. So Callie will drop the link for the next webinar right in there for you that you can take a look at. Arnaud, to kick off our questions, there are a couple acronyms that folks would love some definitions on. So we've got RTV, RTB, and OLV.
Easy question. It's a nice lob. Thanks. So RTB and RTV are the same thing. That's just me mispronouncing. So reasons to believe. RTB, sometimes it's your customer value proposition, CVP. It's just what is the, know your audience, what do your customers care about, and kind of summarize those into maybe 1, 2, or 3 key things that they actually care about with your product. OLV, online video. So it's just a marketing channel. Yeah, YouTube or other marketing channel.
Gotcha. And then another kind of more straightforward or maybe an easier question for you is, everyone is very impressed with your calendaring and Gantt charts. So is there a particular calendaring tool that you use or have used or would suggest?
Honestly, no. So the Gantt charting, I just use Excel because it's available everywhere. And I think you could create a pretty clean looking Gantt chart using Excel. It's not as good at managing the product. So if you have a product management tool, I would just lean into that. And calendaring that if we're talking, that was also Excel, I guess. The last one I showed on how the different tiers and how I proved that product marketing should be a function at the organization. That was actually just a product management tool that our organization was using. Again, I don't have a strong, if you just have a sense of how to use a project management tool, you can create that same chart, I think, in any one of the kind of standard versions.
A utilitarian, you use what you got. I love it. All right, let's dig in and get a little meatier here. We have one question about, would you suggest building campaigns around products or flipping it and building products around campaigns, especially with something like this?
I mean, it depends on where product marketing fits in the org, I think, and how influential it has become with your product management team. I think in an early sense, usually you're going to be more reactive to what's happening with product. They probably have a set approach to how they find customer insights, how they find needs, and how they go ahead and create products for those. But what you can do as a product marketer is start to just know the data like no other, in terms of consumer insights, sit in on their user experience research sessions, get close to the design team, and then start to add value through marketing owns positioning. So really focus on what the heck is our positioning, and then how do you start to influence the roadmap? I think using positioning as a way in, as a way to help the team judge if something should be created or not. I think best in class organization, the two teams are just tied together, and before a product is going to be prioritized, they're looking at, product marketing already has a strong positioning framework and it's well bought in the organization, and you're helping them find the consumer insight that ties to where it fits in the positioning.
Gotcha. There's one question here that is an advice-based question that I like a lot, and I think that you're going to like as well. So Jennifer recently joined a company and she took on a marketing role for a product launch that has a way more robust marketing research initiative than she has worked with previously. And she's wondering, do you have any advice about when to ask what questions as you're kind of going through that marketing research work?
I mean, my experience is usually you're going to have usually there'll be two different teams. There's the UX design or UX research team, and then there will be the consumer insights team that's going to look more broadly. And I think, design, they might be asking a small set of customers earlier, and that could be a good time to start asking some simple questions. Consumer insights team, that's where you want to, the slide that I built, you want to get as many possible questions in. There's probably going to be one study done, maybe two, for the product launch. And so I think it's important to get as many questions into that study as possible. So if you have a consumer insights team, you're working closely with them to ensure that all of your questions are going to get answered. If you're running the study yourself, well, I think that's above my pay grade.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Good advice. All right, pivoting into some KPIs. Folks are curious about digging into the numbers. So do you have any kind of key KPIs that connect to each of the phases that you walked through for go-to-market? Are there key things that you're looking for or you think would be widely applicable to folks who are or maybe are not in TV?
Yeah, I think a lot of companies are moving to being subscription businesses. Mm-hmm. And I think that idea of knowing your CLV should come from your finance team, but then your subscriber acquisition cost is then what you're driving. And if your subscriber acquisition cost is below your CLV, then that feeds into your return on marketing investment. And that's really how I would report up to senior leadership. What is our return on our marketing looking like? So subscriber acquisition costs, I think, is a huge KPI. And then you're just looking at, is this scalable? How much spend can I actually put into this and still stay efficient in that subscriber acquisition cost?
Mm-hmm. Smart. And then for folks that maybe do not renew or who rated the experience poorly, do you have kind of a frame of reference on how often you follow up with them or the extent to which you follow up with those people? And how do you balance using their critical feedback to improve the product versus, we talk about this in Pragmatic as well, the noisy 20, right? So how do you balance that? How much do you talk to them? How much influence does that have with the way that you're structuring your go-to-market?
Love that. I particularly like the feedback loop idea. I think staying really tuned in with those people that are leaving, they're clearly having a challenge that maybe your happy customers are also experiencing, but it's just annoying enough that they're out of here. So I'm all about make sure you have that feedback loop and then bucket it. So turn it into themes and figure out there shouldn't be too many themes, but try and bucket. And then you start to see if a certain bucket's growing a lot, you're feeding that to your product teams and figuring out how you can address those. Even if it is the noisy 20, I think it's still helpful. And then re-engaging. We were fortunate, I think, that we had a big enough audience that we can run A/B tests pretty constantly. So we would just be, all the time launching new email series that would, there was always a win back element to the email series. And so we'd always be trying to get those customers back, and we would just test and iterate. So I don't have, I guess as often as you can, that audience is prime for kind of winning back. And then you're just balancing it with unsubscribe rates and making sure you're not diminishing the size of that audience and annoying them.
Gotcha. What's the max number of themes that you think are helpful and not just burdensome?
Oh, geez. 3 is ideal, right? Just the law of 3. But that's hard to do. I think once you get above 5, it just starts becoming too much for brain. 7 might be max. Thinking
about a different type of bucketing, someone has also asked a question about segmenting your target market and how you create specific messaging and positioning. So curious about how you did that. How did you segment your target market? And did you create specific messaging and positioning for each different key segment? Or did you kind of have a larger approach?
Very good question. And there's a lot of texts, I think, in marketing and different opinions on how you should either get very targeted and segmented, or you should have a mass awareness appeal. And I think my flavor is kind of in the middle. I think that segmenting is important, but the way that I think the most useful segmenting you do is around your audience's relationship with your company. So are they true prospects they've never experienced? Are they existing customers? Are they win back audience? So they've left and they're going, and then there might be, in between, we had like a cancel save type audience. I think that simple business level segmentation allows you to have kind of nuanced messaging to those different audiences, and you can actually measure results. So that's my personal just belief, is that and then do you go and build messaging frameworks for each of those audiences, I guess was the second part of that question. I think if you find the key reasons to believe, if you do your research well and you find the key reasons that customers care, what need you're solving, I think it's up to the creative team to find the nuance and tailor the messaging for each of those audiences. From a product marketing perspective, I think it's one messaging framework that's your key, and it could get longer, based on if it's a longer form creative channel that you're like, if it's a blog, you might have a pretty long messaging framework, but really it should have like three core reasons to believe at the minimum. And yeah, I think it's really on the creative team to kind of build those nuances, leveraging that framework.
Mm-hmm. I think this framework has really resonated with a number of folks. And it's actually a really great comment in the chat about how this has made someone realize how many connections there are between their industry and yours, and kind of all of the interconnected spaces. There are a couple questions about what is your view on how this framework, your approach, can be or should be adapted or modified if the business is B2B rather than a B2C?
Yeah, that is a very good question.
Probably a big question. So some bullet points are okay.
Yes, it is a big question. And at Zillow, Zillow is a marketplace, so we're a B2B2C, and it gets very complicated, I guess. I think the idea of phasing your marketing could still be very relevant, and how you can go to small audiences first and test out and sort of iterate before you go to bigger and bigger audiences. I think that still should hold true. But B2B obviously is you just have a much smaller set of people that you want to go talk to. And so I think you have to be careful around how much you can go and talk, and you can't just blast out as you do B2C, because B2C, like, consumers are just used to getting a lot of messages and they can ignore if you did something silly. But if you're really trying to convince a B2B audience, I think, it's just a little more careful, a little more crafted. And then the other piece I would say is, how big are the partners you're looking at? If you're running a more of an account-based marketing program, then I think it's a completely different animal. If you have huge accounts that you're trying to tackle, I would approach it in a different way personally. The idea still holds of let's have this phased approach to be careful, but the way it's going to be like all your metrics are very different. Everything's very different from an ABM perspective.
Mm-hmm. And what about, B2B or B2C, what about reintroducing a product that was not properly rolled out? Do you think that this is a good framework or strategy that you could use to, like, not fix a boo-boo, but, maybe get a fresh start on something that deserved a little bit more love than it received?
Yes, there's so many times our products teams do awesome things and it just doesn't get the love, it doesn't get the attention. Absolutely. I think there's so many instances in my current role and my past role where things happen, and how can you look back and think again, marketing owns positioning. So think about your overall positioning. How do these products fit in to what consumers really care about? And there could be huge misses that your team or in the organization, it just never got the attention it needed. And I think framing it back up into that overarching positioning framework helps couch everything correctly, and helps, as a marketer, you get a lot more sway. Audiences will listen, your product audiences will listen, product counterparts will listen.
Yeah. All right, we have a couple wrap-up questions for you. These are also questions that you might designate as lobs or softballs. The first one is, have you found Three Floyds beer in Denver? Do you know about Three Floyds beer?
I wish. No, that's one of the beers that I showed at the beginning. It's Indiana based. And no, I found it in Chicago and Indiana, and those are the only places, unfortunately.
Gotcha.
One of my favorites, though.
Gotcha. And then we have another beer-based question for you. Last one. What is your favorite beer that you would recommend to product marketers or product managers who are working through a really tricky challenge? What would you place on their desk with love and compassion?
Oh, man. I guess like another way to think about it, what would I just be so happy if somehow showed up on my desk?
Yes.
I think, on it, I did. There's a reason I placed those two beers in that picture up front. I think the Three Floyd Zombie Dust. Oh my gosh, if I had a case of that, it would just be heaven. Or Daisy Cutter. If you're ever in Chicago, hit up. Oh gosh, I'm forgetting the name of the brewery, but Daisy Cutter is the name of the beer. It's my favorite, one of my all-time favorite beers.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We're getting some other recommendations in the chat too. So as we are wrapping up, if you've got a favorite beer that you would gift with love to a fellow PM or PMM, you can drop it in the chat for us. But with that, thank you so much, Arnaud. I loved this. Again, I'm so blown away by the generosity of your thoughts and the open-handedness of your examples and all of the creative. I think this has made a really awesome impact for everybody today. So thank you so much for joining us.
Sweet. Thanks, Georgina. Thanks, y'all.
All right, folks, until next time.